So our next talk is Getting Started with Your First Generative AI Use Case, and this will be delivered by Mostafa Ajallooeian.
Yes, that's very correct.
Engagement Director and Senior Data Scientist at Unit 8 SA. So Mostafa has been active in the field of AI for the last 18 years. You wouldn't be able to tell by his appearance. Working on a range of topics, including NLP, computer vision, speech recognition, automation, and robotics. He's Engagement Director, as I said, at Unit 8, working actively on the topics around Azure and open AI services. Can we please give Mostafa a massive round of applause?
Yep, so thanks everyone for the very warm welcome. We have already seen a lot of great talks on generative AI, and my intention today is to make that more tangible for you by also giving you live demos of what actually works. So it's a live demo, so hopefully everything goes well. Before we get there, I will talk a little bit about what you are going to see. So I'm from a company called Unit 8. We are a service provider based in Switzerland, which we help companies deliver tailor-made solutions around AI topics with a high focus in health and pharma. So if this works, yeah. So I mean, there is a lot of known cases for all of you in this room that AI has been used to deliver a lot of great value. I mean, you can think about better diagnostics, personalized treatments, faster drug discovery, having assistants to help you with the cases, predicting the health trends so you can act upon them. And these are all very amazing. They have made our lives much better, and they are progressing more and more. The question is this all we can do with AI? And I think the answer is clear from all the talks you had from yesterday to today, that now we have this rise of generative AI, and we should definitely benefit from it in health and pharma. So it's a bit of a, like, as it was said in the morning, like we have pre-ChatGPT era and after ChatGPT era, and there is such a thing. And it's important to know, like, in this hype, what parts are possible and what part is the hype. What I want to focus on today is a lot of you are sitting on a gold mine of unstructured data, which so far, probably most of us were not using them to the maximum benefit. This means you have documents that are not structured, they are sitting in different silos, and you have a bunch of them, vast amounts of them. And it's a very big opportunity to be missed not to use them now with the capabilities of GenAI to benefit from them and generate value from them. So GenAI gives you the capability to swim in this ocean of unstructured data and find answers in it. This was not possible about a year ago. I give you a few examples of use cases that you can think about in your domain. So you can improve your processes, for example. So you can categorize administrative documents and process them and let the human validate them. But you can shorten the time to do them. Of course, the human validation is necessary and crucial in this whole process. You can find relevant pieces of information quite quickly rather than manually going through several, let's say, documents to find what you're looking for. And these documents can be sitting in different data sources. So it's quite important to make that process easier and more efficient. A lot of the data you have is cluttered. So like, it's important also to have the tooling to be able to work with cluttered data without spending years of effort to make them usable for your systems. So these are a little bit about information discovery and improved processes, but you can also try to aggregate insights. This is a bit more complicated topic, but it's possible. Sometimes you want to have an overall understanding of the situation, and you want to put the lab data with clinical data, with the HCP insight together, and then talk to that data to understand what is actually happening, especially if you're someone who organizes the process and needs to have an overview. And lastly, it's quite important when we look at treatments, we would be able to see pros and cons of them simultaneously at the same time, even though they're sitting in different publications, different sources, different notes from your field intelligence people. So how to put all of this together so we can take concrete decisions accurately. So the spoiler of this talk is find answer to your questions grounded in vast amounts of unstructured data. You already know. Before I go to the demo at our company, we are already having projects with the clients in production. I am mentioning a few of the cases that we have been working on. So maybe the first step is maybe nothing too fancy, but let the employees of a company or your hospital or the setup you're in, use something like ChatGPT, but in a safe way, so your data is not going overseas and being stored and potentially used. But how can I do that? Enable people, but make sure nothing is going nowhere that I want. So this we are doing with the global pharma. Then you can go next level. Now you can enable question answering on top of this data. So in the case of this Swiss biotech, it was quality and R&D documents. You can attach all of this technology also to voice. So with one of the telemedicine providers, we are doing call summarization and entity extraction. And these entities are disease names mentioned, conditions mentioned. And it helps the doctor behind the phone call have more time to actually answer the questions and take care of the patient rather than typing the things in the system. So they, of course, get some kind of template pre-filled, but this will not be submitted until they validate everything. But it saves them the time to do it manually. And this makes them also be able to support more patients with the time they have. You can also go a little bit away from this audience towards insurance, still relevant. Here you want to deal with legal documents. You want to understand, ask a question about what is the legal consequence of this action, and you want to get all of the clauses relevant very quickly without spending the whole day, with your lawyer finding those. And then there are more examples like getting 360 view on drug trials or chatting with your internal data in general. So the live demo you will see will show you these things a little bit. You have this ocean of unstructured data. It can be clinical reports, research papers. It can be HCP insights, patient processing docs at the hospital, for example, and legal documents. So think about very different documents and how can I securely use something like GenAI without worries of privacy and security. How can I accurately answer questions? How can I chat in my data continuously and dig deeper so I get all the info that I want? And how to actually create structured data out of unstructured data, so you kind of extract information so you can feed it to other systems. Yeah, so now I think I'm the only one doing a live demo in this conference, so I'm going to do that. I'm ready, AV team. Good. You see it, yes? Good. So let's start with the first example, question answering. So all of what I show you is not on any client's data, of course, because I cannot use that for public presentations. So these are a mix of publicly available data, and for some of the demos, I will use mock data, but still it's the same case. Here it's actual data. So here, what you see here is we have populated the database with quite a lot of PubMed articles. Like in this case, we took nephrology domain because I know a little bit about that domain. And what you want to do is give people, experts, a tool that they can search for, write a question, and get scientific answers, not a Google answer, but a scientific, substantiated answers with references that they can click on the reference, fact check that sentence. So what you see here is I'm asking a question, what is the relationship between obesity and kidney disease? I mean, it's a very obvious question, and we know there is. But maybe you want a bit more detail. So what you see on the page is with the whole architecture, and it was nice that there was a previous talk that said it's not just putting your question in ChatGPT and getting the answer. There's a whole architecture behind this, which gives you security, not going over internet. Having the data that is relevant in the domain only considered and not something else from its own absorbed knowledge in, for example, ChatGPT. So bounded, let's say, and confident search. So you can generate a summary which is very readable for a human, concise enough but detailed enough also, and you get references for each piece of sentence that you're presenting. What is funny is if you don't do generative AI, and you just try to extract exact pieces, out of all the documents we had in this database, only 3 matches were found. But if you look at the generative summary, it has more references, which means it can fish information because it talked about the same thing, but maybe with a different wording, but still can use that piece of information to create a summarization. And then you can, of course, as I said, fact check. You can click on one of the links, open it, take a look at the abstract. Click here. I will not click because of the screens, and then it will open the PubMed article. You can read it just to be sure if that piece of information is correct or not. So take-home message about this demo, you can do question answering on top of your data. It can be a lot of data, hundreds of thousands of documents. It can be very big files, PDFs of 100 pages, and you can have that now I will do a piece live, but I have cached this for the sake of time. But it takes about 15 seconds to get that answer, not hours. I will go to the next one. So you can also chat with your data continuously, of course. So here, maybe you don't want as extended response for each ping pong of conversation, but you want to have the ability to dig deeper every time. So what we have here is like a synthetic data set that we created about, for example, drug trials being done in a study called Transform on a hypothetical drug called drug XYZ. And then different people in the field are taking notes, talking to different doctors, phone calls, writing their notes in their own Excel sheets, so spread around all over the place. Everyone has a different style of writing. They write in different languages because it's their personal notes they are taking. And what can you do to get an overview of the situation based on all these comments written by your people in the field? So I started a simple discussion. What is the last trial made? It's telling me it's called Transform. And then you can actually talk in any language you want, because the performant GenAI models, like GPT models, can support many languages. So with the correct setup and prompt engineering, you can make it talk in the language you like. So I'm asking a follow-up question in German, which is saying, was there a negative opinion? And for the ones who read German, they can see if it's correct or not. But it's saying, yeah, there was some negative opinion about, like you can see a mention of Dr. Smith, which is a hypothetical doctor. And here I'm going to do a live, so internet help me so it doesn't crash the network. And I'm going to ask something like, I don't know, did anyone change their opinion? So why this question is interesting? Because this is not something you get by looking at each data point, because it has to look at the history of the conversations and actually understand which one is linked with which one, and then form a conclusion that, like, this person changed opinion in time if that's the case. And you can say, yeah, so it's mentioning, yeah, apparently Dr. Green expressed concern about cost effectiveness, but later acknowledged that the potential benefits may outweigh the costs. So imagine this is synthetic data, but how powerful this can be if you actually have your data there and you can have such a conversation with your data. Let's go one step further about extracting structured information out of your data. So what you see here is a demo that you can drop a PDF file, for example, scientific papers, and you can ask, hey, this is a long paper, I don't want to read the whole thing, and you can see the paper is whatever format it is from whatever journal, it has pictures, it has tables, and you want to have answers out of this a bit more complex document. There's a whole large prompt in the background you don't see here, but then you're mentioning a little bit the entities you're looking for. Extract obvious things like title, journal, paper, and so on, but also give me quick summaries for conclusions. Was there a limitation on this study? Was there some inconsistencies or contradictions in the study? What was the data specs used, and so on? And again, like in something about 15 seconds, you get something very organized. Now I'm showing it as a table here, but it's actually a JSON object, so you can feed it to another database. That you can get structured information, very readable, and you can use this to quickly go over content, make dashboards, use this content to make decisions. So you might tell me that, I will stay here for 10 seconds, that maybe this was an easy case because I will scroll back up. You see on top of the page in a blue box, there's a lot of information already I'm going to probably benefit from. So maybe it's a bit of a cheating because here, I don't know if you can read, there's a lot of already, kind of a short summary of everything happening in this paper. But not everything is like this. So let's go to another case. This is not a scientific paper. Well, it is published on PubMed, but it's more like a case report. So what happens if I do exactly the same system, exactly the same prompt, exactly the same setup, just give it a different PDF file, which is about a different kind of conversation, still about kidney disease in this case. So you can see it extracts, again, the information nicely in the same way. It gives you summarizations. It gives you limitations. And here, I want you to listen carefully to something I have to say. If you see the title of this paper, you might consider this as an input you would use in forming your opinion. Yes, it is about surgery on horseshoe kidney. But then, if you miss the fact that the study was done only on one patient, would you trust it the same? But this might slip through because this is just part of paper that you missed. Maybe you looked at the analysis, someone reported about complications after surgery, long-term effect, but you've just missed the fact that it was about one patient. So this should not have value informing your opinion. Maybe it can be used as an example, but it has very limited value. And it's very important you don't miss this kind of information. So you have to do your part correctly. So the GenAI does the part correctly. So you have to explain what's important and what's not. Last piece of demo. I'm already in the Q&A time, so I will go a bit faster. I showed examples of using documents in nephrology, but is the system really limited to that? No, I just applied a paper about convolutional neural networks in medicine, and you get still, again, the same response. So it's not fine-tuned for nephrology. You can make a system which is generic enough, which can process your data and make it structured for you. I went a bit fast for the sake of time. We can now go back on the slides. Yeah, so what are the take-home messages? All of what I said, I mentioned a few times that you need to keep the human in the loop. GenAI is a powerful enabler, but it's yet another tool. It's really a tool. It's not a magic box. So what you need is you need to validate and fact-check your responses and your conclusions by experts. This can be through manual checking or using a secondary machine learning model to help you process that faster, but you still need the humans in the loop to check things. Like I told you the example in telemedicine, someone has to confirm the information. And think about it more as co-pilot for experts rather than something which would take portion of their job. This is really a tool, like a computer, which helps you do things easier. This is supposed to help you find information faster. The second take-home message is you are swimming in an ocean of unstructured data, and you can benefit from that. Don't forget that. And still, large portions of the data out there is unstructured and scattered. And you have a gold mine if you employ GenAI, so take that chance. This helps you take informed decisions and accelerate your discoveries. And I think it's important to act now because people are doing it, and you want to join the stream. So you need to create awareness, education, and upskilling in your setup. You have to have a strategy and roadmap how you tackle the problem. You have to have a methodology, how to solve it, what architecture, what tooling, what technologies. And the most important, you need to be able to do all of this respecting privacy and security. So we are Unit 8. We try to turn data into value. We are a Swiss-based company of about 120 people, and we have a strong focus on pharma. We already work with quite big players in the pharma domain. And we offer services like helping you create the roadmap, but actually also implementing it together with you. We have accelerators that you can use to speed up the project. We have prepackaged enablers, and we have a big crowd internally with GenAI expertise. If you'd like to hear more about Unit 8 and talk to us, we are at booth B54, and we would be very happy to help you on your journey, and I'm happy to answer your questions in a minute left.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Can we have a huge round of applause for Mostafa? I'm afraid we are probably not going to be able to do questions because we've only got 50 seconds left. But can you repeat the number of your stand?
It's B54. It's just over the corner there.
So you can know Mostafa during the lunch break if you've got follow-up questions. But thank you so much for a very interactive talk as well. All hail the demo.